Welcome back to She Can, where women lead by example. We interview women from all walks of life about their journeys to share their insights and experiences to support and guide others, because it's easier to be what you can see. And I'm really excited to talk to Kike Oniwinde Agoro today. Kike, welcome to She Can. You're the award-winning founder and CEO of the BYP Network, a multi-million-pound company focused on advancing careers of Black professionals around the world. Through your AI-powered platform, Javelin, you connect Black professionals to personalized career opportunities such as jobs, mentorship events, content based on their career goals. You're also the vice chair of the London Chamber of Commerce, Black Association, and on the board of Getting on Board, a charity dedicated to diversifying charity boards. And you're an alumni of the World Economic Forum Global Shapers. You're also Forbes 30 under 30, and you are one of the very few Black female founders that have raised more than £1 million. Kike, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to where you are today. Give us the pivotal points of your journey.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the introduction. I would say I'm no longer on the board of Getting on Board, as that ended at the end of last year, but pretty much everything else is pretty accurate. I guess, my journey started when I was super young. I was very academic, so A stars at school, in a state school. And I did Javelin for Great Britain as well. So I was very academic and athletic at the same time. That meant that I got a lot of opportunities. So internships, bursaries, scholarships, etc., like a lot of opportunities. But I noticed that I tended to be the only one that looked like me when I was in these spaces. And it just didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel like I belonged. And I also questioned, what was the standard of entry? If I had to be an international athlete with stellar grades to be in the room, and the person next to me is like, oh, my dad got me in. And it doesn't look like me. It just made me question, what is the standard of entry, especially when others like myself were not in the room. So I then, after I did my economics degree at the University of Nottingham, and I got a full scholarship to the University of Florida to do my Javelin out there and to study my master's as well. And I had such a great time out there, met so many incredible people. And I just really kind of saw like the potential for the Black community in a way. I was just like, there's so many incredible Black people here in the University of Florida and beyond. Yeah. And I don't see that promoted enough. Like, the narrative of the Black community is always quite negative, always negative news. Gang violence, just one type of culture when we're not a monolith. There's so many of us doing so many incredible different things. And that I had that feeling that I needed to somehow be part of changing narrative. And in 2016, that was the time of Black Lives Matter as well. And I think all of that came together. And that's when I started BYP, just in my bedroom, just, figuring it out like as a, I guess, side hustle, as I was working at the same time by this point. And my mindset was just, look, if I can find all the Black professionals around the world, bring us together, we can share opportunities, we can learn from one another, we can grow. And then the companies that say the talent doesn't exist can see that it exists, and they can essentially market to us as to why we should, work for them. So yeah, 8 years on, we have grown to a truly global community. We have about 20 chapters across different cities. Where we bring Black professionals together for events. We have content, online content, hundreds of content, webinars, blogs, all about upskilling, learning, hearing from other Black professionals and role models. As well as our platform where our jobs are hosted, and you can see all those content as well. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. Obviously the climate is changing, but as I believe it will change again because this is not sustainable. But yeah, that's a bit about me.
Kike, all of what you've done is unbelievably inspirational and motivational and really showing what is possible. Tell us a little bit more about the BYP network. How many young professionals are you guiding? Give us some data points and, sure. And give us your really big vision. What are you working towards?
Yeah, great question. So we have over 150,000 members across our social channels, our newsletters, our platforms. We've upskilled over 60,000 of them, and that's through our leadership conferences, our online events, just the different things that we do essentially every single year. We host about 70 events every year as well. So that will be the online events, in-person events, and we do this at a lot of company addresses. So we have hundreds of partners that we work with, and nearly 2,000 companies that have actually used at least one of our services. So whether it's our job board or our content, whatever that looks like, they've worked with us or transacted with us. And for us, the big vision is still to change the Black narrative. If anything, I feel like it has kind of gotten worse, which is hard and frustrating to say. I think this war on woke, this war on DEI, and DEI basically being weaponized as a term. And even though we know DEI is encompassing of everything, not just race, it's also gender, it's also sexual orientation, it's so many, it's disability, but it has been weaponized mainly, I'd say, on race-based side of things. It's seen as the new slur, and it's shining a light more on like all the progress that's been made is now kind of trying to be undone. And again, in terms of the narrative, we're still seeing the negative news in the Black community. Whether there's a big push on drugs and gangs and what they like to say, baby mama culture or whatever it is, or divisions in the Black community, so diaspora wars. I feel like that's still really prevalent, and it's quite frustrating and hard. So, I remember when I started BYP, I was like, by year 10, you shouldn't have to exist because, it should be solved. That was the vision at the time. But, we're at year 8 now, and it doesn't feel like we're closer to that. It feels like we've still got a very long way to go. And I know the truth is there is always going to be a long way to go. This has been a 4 century worth of fighting to change the Black narrative. And I'm just one tiny piece of the bigger puzzle. So I think we're just at a point of understanding, we're making impact, we're doing our part, we're driving change. We're driving change in organizations and with Black professionals who can see role models and who know what's possible beyond kind of just, being a sports person or a musician. We're showing people how to collaborate, how to be business people. And I think these are important things. And we still work with a lot of global organizations. And those are the ones that are committed to still making change. And that's important. So, I think the vision still is to change the Black narrative. But it's like there's a big force against it, I'd say, both internally and externally of the community.
Yeah, Kike, I'm very grateful that you spoke about it. We are all in this together. Your mission and my mission and other people's vision has just been supercharged. And I feel that we have more work to do than ever. And so what you're doing is unbelievably important because, yes, the DEI has been weaponized. And I always think we forget that there is a business case for DEI. We know that the bottom line of diverse companies is much higher than those that are not diverse. So I always feel we are forgetting about the business case. And a more diverse and inclusive company will have a higher output, i.e. they will make more money, which is why you and that, and that's why BYP is so unbelievably important. Kike, I'm wondering, what are your main takeaways? You've been doing this for 8 years. What are your main lessons?
Yeah, I've got quite a few, I'd say. I think firstly, I started it when I was 24. I think that's good. I think the kind of next generation is starting to think like this young, like kind of activism, or what I like to call proactivism, is so important when you're young. Because when you're young, you're more naive, right? And that's the truth. You're more kind of like hopeful. You're more kind of passionate and guided by this kind of like world that you envision, and you're not tainted or scarred by like the things that are the reality, I'd say. And I say that in, all like genuinely, how I felt from that age to the age that I am now. So I feel happy that I started at that age because it was like this relentless kind of vision and goal, which is still there. But I think now it's like this reality of like, okay, this is how big the situation is. These are all the things against it. And as I mentioned already, right, corporate side is one thing, right? What I've learned is like, okay, for them to, on one side of attracting the talent, making sure the talent is there, right? Making sure that on our side, they're upskilled, they're ready, they're looking in these areas, they know these areas exist. They're prepared for the interviews, they're prepared for the applications, they're prepared for the job. So that's one corner, right? Then it's the actual networking side. So making sure that they know how to network properly. So they network their way through, making it easier for them to get the job or to be inside the job and to keep the job. Obviously the biases of the companies. So realizing like those that you're up against, so that yes, there could be one main advocate, but if not everyone else isn't advocating, it doesn't matter. They're going to still face headwinds. And I think that's been quite apparent. It's like, okay, so even get the job is hard, but to now keep the job is also hard. And then obviously there's the other barrier of promotion as well. Yeah. Like, okay, I'm in the job now, I'm doing very well. Am I getting promoted? Am I being paid fairly or equally compared to my counterparts? And then that feeling of like, knowing that you are talented, but feeling like a tick box because maybe the company is making you feel that way, or other people are making you feel that way, or you are the only one there. So you don't feel like you belong. So there's so many challenges just along that pipeline. And I'm only talking about the corporate space. I'm only talking about getting a job. I'm not even talking about the entrepreneurship side, the lack of funding, the lack of role model visibility for those who can become unicorn companies, the lack of belief and faith in your businesses. The fact that if you are a Black business owner, people think you can only serve the Black community, but actually maybe your product can serve everybody. So there's that side of things. And then again, as I mentioned, within the community itself, like some of the divisions that exist that also need fixing, but is also getting stronger and stronger in terms of division. So my learning in 8 years is that it's hard, right? It's so hard. But all you can actually do is what you can do. Whereas I think before, the young me was like, gonna solve this big global, everything must change, Whereas now I think I'm more like, we are going to keep doing what we can do. And as long as we can see our impact and we know who we're impacting and we hear our testimonials, we speak to our clients, we speak to our members, we're enjoying ourselves, we're happy, we're feeling the difference. That's all that we can really truly do versus putting the whole entire weight of like the prosperity of the Black community on our shoulders, which was insane to ever do. But yeah, I think that's been a lot of my learning.
Yeah. Kike, so give us a little bit of insight what it is like as a Black female entrepreneur to have to raise money, to be successful in raising money, and give us your tips and insights along your points.
Yeah, for me now, it feels like a long time ago now because the last time I raised was about nearly 5 years ago. And I did a crowd fund and had angel investors. I also had family offices invest as well. And I did that because, VC funding is difficult to obtain. And then a lot of them would only send you to the Black VC funds. So they'll be like, oh, there's this Black fund, you should go there. Or, oh, there's this fund for women, you should go there. And it's like, if they don't want to fund you, then the other was like, well, if they're not funding you, we're not going to fund you. But a lot of those funds didn't even have funds. They didn't actually have any money to invest. And then they're even more like reluctant to invest as well, because they know that they too are representing all the Black community in the VC world. And if they fail, then it can impact. So it's just this kind of sad continuation of like feeling like you represent your whole community when you shouldn't have to, because others don't have to do that, right? Like, we know 99% of businesses fail. That's just a given. But I think as a Black female founder, it's almost like you're not allowed to fail, right? So you're not allowed to fail forward. And even though a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs have failed their way to the top, it's like that's discouraged, which is really bad, because that's how you actually succeed. So for me, since then, I kind of stayed away from, I'd say, the fundraising community, the investment community. I think that's good. I think you need to get in, you do what you need to do. I always tell people, give it 6 months of intensity, which will lead to a form of burnout, let's be honest. But give it like 6 months of intensity in terms of like, all right, I'm going to network, I'm going to go out every day, I'm going to go to these events, I'm going to talk to these different investors, I'm going to do my pitch deck, I'm going to have the pitch calls, like, and give yourself a deadline. And then at that deadline, that's that, right? And hopefully you've got what you need to just continue, and then focus on being a revenue generating business. We've been revenue generating since, right? We've done millions in revenue, and we're now profitable as a company as well. And that's our focus on profitability now. So to me, that's better, because it's just like, that's what it should be. And maybe getting out of that rat race of you're trying to be a unicorn company, or you need to go for growth, or you need to keep fundraising might not be best for everyone, especially when you know the money doesn't come that easily. So yeah, I think my tips and tricks is just really understanding the landscape and what reality looks like. And the business you're creating, is it a business that needs a lot of money to kind of get up and running. If it does, is that the right business to create? Or can you create something that can generate revenue, that can be profitable, and that you can scale, in that way?
Yeah, yeah. Very great tips, Kike. Thank you for that. I'm wondering, would you like to give us a couple of pointers on how to build a racially diverse business and why that is still a real business case for it?
Yeah, I guess look, it starts from the top as always. Like if those at the top don't care, then already it's not going to happen. And from the top, it's them realizing that hold on, I'm looking in the room, everybody looks the same. Let's just say we're all just white men, and we all look the same. We're all saying the same thing. That's not necessarily good. You need people who can be your critical friend, who people have different visions or views, or who have access to different markets or insights because of their lived experiences. So, like you already mentioned, we know that diversity is good for the bottom line. It's good for revenue. It's good for profits. It's good for the business. But a lot of companies now, obviously, given the climate, are backing away. But as we are seeing, just as an example, Tesla shares or Tesla car sales are down 50% in Europe. Like, because not everybody thinks the same way as Elon Musk, right? So it's that ability to understand that you do need these diverse voices. And also, racial diversity is one thing, but you could have someone who is a black professional in your room, but they think the exact same as you because they went to the same school, they go to they grew up the same way. That's still not diversity enough. Diversity really is about that lived experience, whether it's socioeconomic class, whether it's maybe they don't go skiing, but they never had holidays. Like we know it's gender. There's so many different parts to it, but it's finding the best talent. It's always about talent overall. Is are you choosing the most talented person? That's number one. And what I think I noticed within this whole kind of years of DEI and companies thinking, oh my God, I must do something about it without really learning. They just were trying to let me just get someone that looks diverse and that's enough without thinking, no, you're getting the right person because if you're getting a talented person, it is not a tick box exercise. And I think for those that did a tick box exercise that failed are now blaming, oh, see, they're not good enough. Well, no, it's not true. You didn't do it right. And so for me, it's just starts from the top. It's making sure that you implement the right systems. You do an audit of your organization. What is missing? What skills are missing? How do you target, racial talent or diverse talent in general? How do you make sure they see you and they see you as an employer of choice? How are you showing up for them? Do you have employee resource groups? So, race groups, gender groups, etc. Are they advocating for you? Are they ambassadors of your organization? Because that also helps. They can refer people in, receive referral rewards, and help your organization. And then again, how are you retaining them? How are you promoting them? How are you listening to them? So, there's a range of things, but I think for those who are at the very beginning of their journey, just look around and start from where you are, and focus on that kind of attraction piece.
Yeah. Kike, so I'm wondering, what are your challenges 8 years in? What are the challenges that you have to overcome? And do you feel that BYP Network is going to be challenged by this backlash and the weaponization against DEI?
Yeah, great question. So it's an interesting one because we saw the surge, right, during BLM. We saw the kind of all the companies rush, like, oh my God, we need to work with you because of this situation. So we saw the kind of virtual signaling. And we as a company never were pro virtual signaling. Like we knew a company that was pretending. They didn't really care. You're just trying to do it to look good. Like an example, you sign up with our services, but then we don't hear from you throughout the whole partnership, even though we're reaching out. And then suddenly you ask us to if we can be listed in your annual report. No, we can't. Right? So we saw loads of that, right? And we weren't interested in working with those kind of clients or renewing with those kind of clients. So for us, yes, there's been a decline in terms of the list of clients that want to work and do this type of work, but those that have been dedicated continue to come back. That we have great retention rates. We keep working with great clients that want this, that are pro this, and I think that's what's most important. I don't want to have clients who are just doing it for tick boxing sake, right?
Absolutely.
We want clients who are invested in it and we can work as a partnership and really enjoy the process, and our community gets to know them and get hired by them or just refers them over. That's what's most important to us. So yes, I'd say the current climate has its challenges for sure. This whole war on DEI, and we've been expanding in the USA. So this year we decided, like, let's pause on the USA side of things, like our conferences. And it's mainly because they're now trying to do mitigation. That's the problem.
Yes.
And that's actually part of the reason a lot of the companies also have stopped. It's not actually just because of Donald Trump per se. It's because they're being sued by conservative lawyers or law firms. And that's why they're kind of backing out a bit. So I think the current climate is crazy and risky, but it's going to change 100%. Like, we can already see that those of us are really pushing back. Like, we're aware of the situation and we're pushing back. We're speaking up. We're fighting back. And I think that's so important. And those people like Mark Zuckerberg, who wants more masculine energy, we'll feel it, right? Because Trump term will end soon enough, and then you'll be back groveling and acting like you didn't say the things that you said. But we're seeing companies like Target and Walmart be boycotted, right? So for me, it's yes, there is challenges, and we're all seeing it, but I do believe it will change, and history shows us that as well. Whenever there's a huge, I see it as like what's the law? The law of, like, the same force is applied. So BLM was a huge force, and now we're on the opposite side of it, where it's a huge force against it. And but yeah, I just think that it will even out. But we have to just keep doing the work that we're doing, which is for the community. So as long as we're showing up, I think that's what's most important.
Kike, I'm very thankful that you're talking to the window dressing that's going on all the time, right? And it's the same as the greenwashing and the cutting through the BS, because there is an enormous amount of BS. I'm wondering, what would you like your legacy to be, Kike? If you look back on your life, what would you like this to be?
Yeah, great question. I think one thing about me, I am very, very, very much focused on changing the Black narrative, regardless of what that looks like. So at the moment, it has mainly focused on careers, because that's been the area that we're like, you know what, we need Black professionals in jobs, we need them in roles, and there's no support post university for a lot of people. So we came to fill that area. But now I'm also focused on, like, the next generation, the younger generation, like, what does it mean for them to actually have the right foundations for their futures? It might not be careers, it might be entrepreneurship, it might be just even your health and well-being, like the fitness side of things. Then it's on that financial literacy. How are we doing generational wealth? How are we ensuring that Black communities are thriving, and that it doesn't just all go away somehow when there's another recession? So I think for me, my legacy will always be within this world of, like, changing the Black narrative and helping the Black community. Like, I'm very passionate about Africa, as a continent. I'm Nigerian background. We employ a lot of Nigerians in Nigeria, and that's incredible, the impact that makes as well. And so I know, like, just there's a whole opportunity of what can be done. And so I'm always thinking about solutions and what does that look like. And so BYP Network can exist in the form that it is. It might evolve. There might be other businesses that focus on the change of the Black narrative. But I can see myself still staying within this kind of space forever, but it taking different avenues and angles.
Yeah. Kike, so what plans and goals do you have? The sort of shorter term goals, 2025 and beyond?
Well, 2025, I'm just making sure that I am breathing well, since I am heavily pregnant and I'm due soon enough. So for me, it's about making sure that I am resting, and I'm understanding that I am, growing a whole human in my stomach, and my body is not the same. And taking a good amount of maternity leave as well, and just like making sure that I am centered, essentially. Like, I think 2025 right now is more for me. Like we said, for Black women in general, after Trump being elected, and I know I didn't vote, obviously, but 92% of Black women voted for Kamala Harris. So we've all joined them in our kind of, this is the year where we rest a bit. We rest and we kind of let the world get on with it, even though we'll participate where we need to. And for me, as someone who's expecting, that's very much my mindset. It's about making sure I'm focused more about me, my well-being, my health. And BYP continues as normal. It's business as normal this year, I'd say. No new kind of big things, just kind of our normal business, basically.
Yeah, amazing that you said that, Kike. Thank you. What would you like your takeaways to be for our listeners from your story?
I think the takeaways for them, like listeners, because again, given the current climate, is that one, just that self-care, like remembering that they still have to focus on their self-care. This period has been so much about like doom scrolling, reading the news every 10 seconds. What has Trump done now? What has this company said now? What's going on with Ukraine? Oh my God, Keir Starmer's going out. Like, it's just so much news and negative news and anxiety-ridden fears. And I think people have to still focus on their self-care, but also plan as well. What does planning look like? What happens if there is World War III? What does that mean for you? What could that look like? What does it mean for your business? Like with the current anti-DEI climate, as we said, what can you do in this time? Maybe it's time for you to pivot. Maybe it's time for you to close up shop. Maybe it's time for you to slow down. I just think that for them, they just need to take the fact that, yes, you might have a big, big vision and don't lose your ambition, but also be okay and content with like the journey you're on right now and the fact that things might have to slow down because we are in a very uncertain period.
Yeah. Kike, super important words, mic drop moments. Can you, if you were sending a postcard to every person in the world with one sentence, what would that sentence be?
You've got this. I know
Yeah.
you said sentence, but
Yeah.
you've got this. Like literally, you've got this. That's all it can be. Yeah.
Beautiful, Kike. I'm so thankful for your time. I'm so thankful for your work, for changing the Black narrative, and for speaking to self-care and to slowing down and to pivot if necessary and to really leading by example. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Take care.